And good evening. This is Bob Branco. Again, welcome to another edition of Branco Broadcast. How are you all this evening? I'm very pleased to have with us Ronald Glazer. He is a technical specialist and trainer of technology. He's going to talk about that, his observations on it, and he might even talk about a few other projects that he's involved with as well. Welcome, Ron.
Well, thank you, Bob. I'm glad to be here. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Why don't you tell our listeners what you do, how you do it, and then we can ask you questions.
All right, Bob, that sounds great. As Bob said, folks, my name is Ronald Glazer. I am a technology specialist / trainer / mentor that teaches technology such as JAWS for Windows, NVDA system access, Windows, iOS devices such as the iPhone, Mac computers, and Android devices. The problem that I see a lot of times with training is this, that when a person trains someone, we as technology trainers, we learn the stuff and then we teach it to you guys. A lot of trainers that I've known read the manuals from cover to cover while they're sitting there, and they don't really do hands-on training. This is where I differ. When I train someone in usage of like a program or a skill that they want to do, it's hands-on. What I do is I show them how to perform the task, and then I ask them to repeat the actual steps that I have done to actually let them try and see if they could do the different tasks that they want to do. As a specialist in technology like this, it's harder for a person to sometimes go through and find the little bugs, the different inconsistencies that actually you would actually find in like a technological product such as JAWS for Windows, since there's a lot you can learn with it. And as to that, like I said, I do train people in a lot of products, and I do help them with things of like the nature of like websites, how to navigate like their computer, different concepts like that. I believe in simple but making it easy for them to learn and for them to remember the concepts that they need to actually use the products that we use in our daily lives. Another thing that I do is if someone says to me, how do I use this mainstream product versus, say, a blindness product? Give you an example. There's a wireless speaker system out there called Sonos. The Sonos Play 5 actually has a touch panel on top of the speaker, which a lot of people would say is inaccessible to a blind person. That's not true. It is usable by the blind, and you do not have to have any specific like bump dots or any of that nature to actually use it. Plus the iOS controller client, the Windows controller client, and also the Mac client are accessible to us as blind individuals. So we have that as part of our usage as well. Let's see. Now, for some of the things that I've dealt in project-wise, I am currently trying to establish a tech support business for the blind that will actually be more cost-effective with people who are on fixed incomes, because I know, just like you guys, I'm blind myself, how hard it is to find people who would actually be able to want to help you and not charge an arm and a leg like $50 to $100 and some an hour. So I'm proposing that we could find a way to make the hourly rate, meaning that for like an hour's worth of tech support, be comparable to something a person could pay between, say, let's say between $10 and $15 for an hour's worth of tech support. Now, to me, I think that's extremely reasonable and extremely comparable to a lot of things that you would actually maybe think about, $10 for like going out and having a Happy Meal, or like a meal like at a restaurant, say, fare of $15. like that. But, again, I'm not like these other technology trainers that actually take and just read the manual to you and figure, oh, that person's just going to know how to do it just by me reading the manual. There is no hands-on with those people. So that is something of that nature as well. I do run a blind computer users group on Yahoo Groups. If anyone is interested in this particular group, I can give you the subscribe address as well. We, meaning myself and the community there, we have all help each other. It's one of these things where I help you, you help them. That, you know, it's a give and take situation where we all are there to learn, and we learn something from each and every one that posts questions. So it's really an interesting kind of concept like that. So basically, what I try to do in my line of work is help you guys learn how to use your specific products that you have and to get you acclimated to living a real productive life.
All right. Ron, why don't you talk about your ministry too?
Okay. Yes. I thanks for mentioning that, Bob. I'm glad to actually do that. I do also run a Christian ministry called GSH Ministries. And we are an organization that believes in God 100%, and we have such things as faith groups, which you might know as life groups or small groups that we run over the phone, and depending on the amount of time that we need for the group, it could be like a 2-month group, a month group, like that, or it could be longer. It just depends on how in-depth we can get within that group's topic. We have a blog that we write original devotionals, thoughts, and inspirational things of that nature. We also have a podcast that we currently have 15 episodes of now called Love from Above. And this is a podcast geared towards children of the ages between 4 and 12. It teaches Christian morals and values, and also has the ability to have a song that the children can actually learn and take to heart as to the concepts that we teach. The current episode is on, I do believe, What is Your Title, that we just published. And the first episode is called Give Thanks. You can find the information on the website www.gshministry.org. If you go down to where it says podcast, you can click on that and then go down and click on here's the podcast link, and you can subscribe either via RSS or iTunes. If you have an Echo device, you can actually listen to Love from Above by asking the Alexa service to actually play Love from Above on TuneIn. We also have a Christian radio station that we run 24/7 that has Christian programming such as Adventures in Odyssey, Night Sounds with Bill Pierce, and many different styles of Christian music as well. If you'd like the phone number for GSH Ministry, I can give you that as well. We do have a prayer line that if anyone needs prayer or wants to talk to someone about an issue that they're having, we are there for you guys. The ministry hours are from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, and you can translate that into either Central, Mountain, or Pacific time for whichever region that you are in. The option 3 is our prayer line. One of the staff members of GSH will always be monitoring this line, so if you have any prayer requests, if you have any issues you'd like to discuss, please feel free to call us. I will give you the phone number as well. The phone number is 1-980-6 500-9575.
All right. Thank you, Ron. Anybody with a question?
Hi, Ron. This is Steve.
Yes, Steve.
I don't know if you'll have time after because I have a specific thing I'm having a problem with and the JAWS helpline couldn't help me out with it. So if you have time after, I'd like to talk to you. And I'm just wondering, did you get like a certification when you learned to teach the technology, or did you just do it on your own? Like,
I am not currently certified. I have actually, I'm self-taught, actually. I've been using the screen readers since 2002, actually, since then. And I've self-taught myself all the stuff that I know like that. It's one of those things where, again, Steve, being certified is a good deal, but sometimes when you can't afford to pay for the certification like that, and then you have to keep it up like that is also a pain sometimes in the rear. That's why, like for me, right now I'm not certified, but I know the stuff that I'm doing like that. So, no, I am not certified at this time.
I was just curious. I mean, I don't think it matters necessarily because I know some people at the centers that teach tech, and some of them are certified and some of them aren't, and it just depends on your abilities. And how do you find? I find personally the Microsoft and the Apple accessibility people pretty good for helping you out.
That is extremely a good question, Steve, because they really do help a lot of people out very well. They know exactly what they're doing, both the accessibility line for Apple and the accessibility center for Microsoft. They know exactly what they're doing. For example, if you need help, say, installing Windows 10, Microsoft will actually help you go through and do this. If you're having a problem, they'll remote on in, and they will actually help start your upgrade to Windows 10 and give you advice as to what needs to be done. With Apple, let me tell you something, folks. They are extremely well-versed in their products. If they need to know information that you as a non-sighted person that is blind cannot give them, they will actually do now what they call screen sharing. And they can actually see exactly what you're doing on your device, and they can give you pointers as to how to fix what you're doing. So they are extremely, extremely well-versed in what they do, and I applaud both of them.
Yeah. Thanks.
Ron, can you repeat your phone number again, please?
All right, for the ministry, that is...
I'm interested...
Yeah?
Okay, I'm interested in the Adventures in Odyssey. I'm not Christian. I'm Jewish. So I'm not
that's no problem. We don't discriminate against any faith at all. Jewish, whatever.
Well,
so you're interested in the Adventures in Odyssey? What can what can we do for you about that?
I'd like to hear the shows.
Okay, if you go to www.GSH Ministry. .org.
Yeah.
Okay, on the main site, if you go down, you'll see where it says, click here to listen to GSH Ministry. Click on that, and it will launch the stream. Adventures in Odyssey is run on Saturdays from 8 to 9 in the morning. We are going to expand this offering with other shows such as Down Gilead Lane, stuff like that, Paws and Tails, different things that would be, of a Christian radio drama perspective. We might even run the Left Behind series, the adult series, and the kids dramas as well.
So Odyssey is only on once a week then?
So far, unless we decide to take and do a different rotation to where we will actually put the show in more regularly, which is something we can discuss. Me and my other partners will discuss and see how we want to do that. But I definitely enjoy Adventures in Odyssey. We have everything up to the most current episodes. We don't have album 63 yet, but we will be getting that when that comes out. So we will be running the whole gambit of Adventures in Odyssey.
Well, that's good.
And we will run different Jewish programs as well. Well, I can understand that. Yeah, we will also run different Jewish programs, Jewish artists, such as Paul Baloche and that, that do Messianic music as well.
Well, I don't.
Like I said, we don't discriminate against faiths like that, and I'm glad to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. God bless you.
Thank you.
Anyone
God
else?
bless you, too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? You have the floor, whoever you are.
Can we try that phone number again?
Okay, the phone number for the ministry is 1-980-500-9575.
I think I got it.
Now, you said that is you have a prayer line, and what other things do you have on that phone?
Okay, we have a prayer line. That is option 3. Okay, option 2 will get you to where you can learn about the faith groups that we run. And what they are is they're like small, like some of the churches nowadays have what they call small group or what they call life groups that meet and they discuss like different topics or different Bible studies of that nature. That's kind of what faith groups are like. We get together over the phone and we discuss the different topics that we have. Like, okay, right now, one of my partners, actually, his name is Ben Bloomgren, actually has a faith group that is called Faith Seekers, and it's for people who have recently come to know Jesus and God himself, and or those people that are wanting to learn more about the tenets of the Christian faith using biblical concepts and very scriptural references to what these tenets are. So if you are interested in that, you can sign up for the faith groups via the phone, or if you click on faith groups on the website, you can actually sign up for them there as well. Like I said beforehand, the faith groups, they'll last anywhere from maybe a month to 2 months, maybe longer, depending on how long the topic is that we actually will be discussing. Sometimes we will use like a book that we will tell you where you can actually find the book if you want to get the book. It's not necessarily that you have the book to participate in the faith groups. It's just something that we would recommend if you want to read it, something of that nature, like the one that we're doing now is by David Chadwick, How Do You Hear From God? Is the book that Ben's actually using and basing his faith group on now for faith seekers.
I had a question. What's your Yahoo group for the users?
Okay, to subscribe to it?
Yeah.
Okay. The group is called Blind Computer Users.
Mm-hmm. And
to subscribe to Blind Computer Users, it is BLComp, C-O-M-P, users -subscribe at yahoogroups.com.
Okay, thanks.
You're very welcome.
Something I learned recently that a lot of people may not know, the Apple Tech Accessibility Group has now started, they have one blind tech support person And their intention, I believe, is to offer this type of employment to other blind or visually impaired people to, actually have a job helping other
cool.
with the accessibility features of the Apple products.
That I've actually heard myself, and I applaud them for doing that, because not only then will they have blind individuals working alongside sighted individuals, you'll get a more balanced perspective as to the accessibility of the different products. You'll have the sighted people who actually will be able to look at the screen and tell the person, this is what you're doing wrong, but then you'll actually have someone who's blind who's used the products and can demonstrate and show them, like say over the phone, what they're doing wrong, and actually get them up and going faster sometimes. Again, like I said beforehand, it's harder to do some of these training things if you don't know the products as well as you really should. I mean, I've known some amateur people that have tried to do tech support that have done very well, actually, and some have had more trouble with tech support for doing stuff for the blind.
I've had results with both Apple and Microsoft, and that touches on exactly what you're mentioning. Sometimes the accessibility person you get has no clue what you're talking about. And
That's exactly right.
I find this more times on Microsoft than I do on Apple. A lot of times the guy who's supposed to be Apple accessibility support doesn't even know how to access, turn on the voiceover. And I'm thinking to myself, how did this guy get in this position?
Yeah, right.
So what is he doing there?
I have to agree with you like that too. I've actually run into that myself when I've actually called in for a couple of things that I need to have someone else's opinion on. I've actually noticed that, and I've been wondering the same thing too. That's why when, like I said, like when I do the training, I make sure a person knows how to do the things that they would like to do. I don't take and do like via the manual type thing where like, I'm going to read you the manual and then you're going to do the stuff. It has to be, I'm more of a hands-on trainer versus just reading the manual and saying, these are the steps, now you do them.
Yeah, and not even sighted people can learn that way. Hands-on is...
No. You got to be hands-on, and that's the way they train in all the centers.
I will no longer let any tech support person tap in, I forget the term for it, and connect to my computer.
Like to remote on in?
I tell them, you tell me how to do it, because I have had more trouble undoing the damage that somebody has done, remoting into my computer. I just won't let them do it anymore.
That's understandable.
Leora, this is Alice Massa, and I have reached the same point as you. I had to pay quite a bit of money one time after 2 or 3 people tried to help me by remoting into my computer, and it was so adversely affected that I've come to the same decision as you, and it's sad that that's the case.
Well, a lot of
times...
Now,
did you have that trouble, like, with the JAWS people or somebody else?
I haven't had it with JAWS. I've had it with Microsoft and with HP. A lot of these so-called, tech support people from the different computer, but I don't remember having a problem like that with JAWS.
That's refreshing.
People mess it up, but they can fix it. Normally, people who from JAWS, they'll stay with you till they get it fixed.
Yeah, that's true. Or if they can't fix it, they'll send you somewhere else. Like they sent me to Microsoft Accessibility, but then I had an accident and fixed it myself. I mean, I don't know how I did it. But
yeah, but that and it's scary. What if they do? Yeah. And like Alice was talking about, you pay hundreds of bucks to get somebody to fix it. A lot of times they don't know what's been done, so They
really just want your money.
I had a computer that I spent, so-called tech support person came out, and she was messing around and not only did she not fix the problem, but she created 3 others. The computer is now pretty much unusable. What we all need is a real good. Oh, I was going to mention. You were talking about you do it, you learn how to do it, and you teach the other person. I worked in tech support for 22 years, and I used to write programs, and then I would end up training the people who needed to use the program. And what I would do is I would write the documentation, and then I would sit down and go through that documentation line by line, doing just what it said in my little manual. And I found more errors that way. And then the next thing I would do is I would hand it at the training session. I would hand that documentation to the students, assure them that this was not a trap, and have them go through that documentation step by step. And again, I identified other problems because we used to have a saying in programming, it needed to be foolproof, and fools can be very ingenious.
Yeah,
I like that one. Did you do this as a blind person?
No. Did you? I was visual. Well, that was when I first started losing my vision, and the company wanted to hire, someone who was visually impaired, and I'm one of the people they hired. At the time,
but you had some sight, I gather.
I had enough sight to I was still driving, but I was using JAWS on the computer. That's not true. That was before JAWS. I was using a magnifier. I was using magnification at that time.
Oh.
But, the thing is, people will do things. It needs to be hands-on. People will do things that you would not even imagine. If you know what you're doing, you don't do those things. And people who don't know what they are doing will do very unexpected things.
Mhm. That's why I like the JAWS people would tell, because I canned them in on it, but he was explaining what he was doing, and I was, I have some technical background, so I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and I would have done that, and so at least he was talking to me while he was driving my computer, you could say.
Well, the thing with Microsoft Accessibility is I find that they have gotten a lot better, but they used to be terrible. And the thing is that their training, I think the people, it's very uneven what they know. And if you're lucky, you get a good one. If you're not, I think a lot of their English could be a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Wish they would have people from the U.S.
Yeah, I've explored that a little bit, and it's interesting. I'm not quite sure how this works, but the people do live in the United States, but they must be, recent immigrants or something, because, as you say, they don't speak good English, they don't understand. Having been in tech support, the way I lost my job is it was outsourced, and they would have us build. As I lost more vision, I moved out of the stuff that I really enjoyed doing. But they would have us build what they called a knowledge base. The idea was that somebody calls in, I get the problem, I solve the problem, I put it in the knowledge base. Somebody else calls in, somebody else gets the problem, they look it up, and, they offer my solution. That's exactly what's happening with these jobs that are outsourced, like to India or Pakistan or wherever. What they've done is these companies have shipped those knowledge bases to them when they, that were built by people who really knew what they were doing. Because I can tell, I will give it, like I called in one time and I said, my computer is running out of hard disk space. Something is eating up my hard disk space. And so she looks up, and it keeps giving me an error that I'm running out of disk space. Her solution to the problem was to turn off the error message so that it wouldn't tell me anymore that I'm running out of disk space.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's more than ridiculous. I would have said to you that, since you're running out of disk space, I would have had you go look and see how much actual hard drive space you've actually had versus, anything of that nature. And then I would have suggested to you to go out and, if you had an extra internal drive, to move some of the stuff from that drive to the next drive, or to go out and buy yourself an external hard drive, such as from from Seagate or whatever, and actually use that and store some of the stuff that would be on there, freeing up your disk space. Also taking and doing like a disk cleanup.
Well, there used to be a virus that would do that on your hard drives.
Actually, what it was is it was Norton Antivirus that was eating up the disk space. Every time it would download, I subscribed to it, and so every time it would download the virus definitions, it was not deleting the old ones. So it was just, eating up my disk space at 2 meg a day or 2 meg a time, when the actual solution turned out to be I called Norton, and what they did is they upgraded my Norton antivirus. The old version didn't know how to handle the new definition. And whoever that was, that's usually the first thing. But like I say, I worked in tech support for 22 years. If I have to call tech support, I need help.
Yeah, right.
I
know the feeling.
Ron, I have a question for you. As a technician, Ron, what are your thoughts on these software companies charging over $1,000 for speech software, something that many blind people cannot afford?
Well, that is another thing, too, that really kind of bugs me to no end. I mean, look at how much we pay for JAWS. Okay, it's like $1,000. Okay? The one thing I really see is they could bring down the cost of JAWS to make it reasonable for a person to purchase. Now, this is something that I've actually struggled with other people who have said, JAWS is the best that's out there. It may be the best for certain tasks, I will admit that. But then you have other free solutions such as NVDA, Non-Visual Desktop Access, which actually is something that I myself use quite a bit as well, along with the different screen readers. The thing I like about NVDA is this, that the whole program is actually been coded by two blind programmers. Mm-hmm. They actually, James Te is one of the programmers for NVDA, and he's totally blind. Right now we're up to version 2017.2, and I do believe sometime either this month or next month we should get 2017.3, which, by the way, does include Microsoft Edge support. JAWS will be coming out with a version of their screen reader that'll have the Edge support in it, I believe sometime this month, but I'm not sure on that. I do know if it's not going to be this month, it will be in the public beta of JAWS 2018, actually, and that was something that Freedom decided to do as well. They changed their naming scheme from, instead of having like JAWS 19, JAWS 18, they're now going by the year that the JAWS was actually released.
I think that JAWS does that because it's pricing, because the majority of blind users are getting their products either from the commissions for the blind and stuff like that. So their logic is probably, well, we can charge that price because we can, and most people that have.
I agree with Steve.
That's where it all started. the whole idea, well, this is sort of information behind the scenes, but basically they just figured that they could charge that much because either the government was going to buy it or, say, like when I changed jobs when I started going blind, you know, the company was supposed to buy it. You know, they thought these big, deep pockets were going to buy this stuff. And that just doesn't happen. Well, it depends on the state you live in, I think. I think in some states, you know, something like Commission for the Blind, if they have a Commission for the Blind, or, you know, companies will go ahead and buy it. But you can't always, that doesn't always work out.
No, I know.
I believe that they only buy things for people that are going to be employed. If you're older or you're not, you can't find work, they won't buy it for you.
Yeah,
but that is actually correct, because I know that, like, around here for like vocational rehab here, if you don't get a job or you don't go like to college or whatever, and you need a screen reader, they will not purchase it for you at all. You have to have an employment goal or go to college.
Well, not in my case.
That's general.
At that time, the Commission for the Blind in Texas was actually pretty good. And actually, I got a good counselor that kind of went around a lot of law changes probably to get me what he did. Well, computer just seemed to be the good idea at the time. So I was told, well, you know, that the commission would, when I got ready to go to work, the commission would buy, you know, whatever I needed. Okay, so I get my degree, I go get a job, call up the commission and say, hey, I've got a job, now I need, blah, you know, we need to get together and see what I need. Oh, well, we sort of figured, you know, now that you have a job, you no longer qualify as, you know, a low income or no income so that we can buy this. We kind of figure the company will buy it for us. You know, there's always something. They point to somebody else.
Yeah,
they're not consistent.
That's true.
And each counselor is different, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because some people...
If you have a good counselor that you can depend on getting you things, that's one thing. But if you don't, then...
And I think a lot of counselors, you know, I'm not sure why they're in the job. It's kind of like applying for Social Security. Some of the people in the Social Security office are under the impression that their job is to keep people from getting Social Security.
Yeah. But
Well, you know, Ron, I'll tell you what some cynics would say, and I've heard this for half my life, that one reason, and I'm not saying this is true, by the way. Let me preface my remarks by saying to you that I'm not saying that this is true. This is what I've been told by people who suspect this, that a lot of counselors drag the cases of the client as long as they can, because if everyone is successful, there'd be no work for the counselor.
Oh, man. Bob, I've heard that exact same thing.
The flip side
I've heard that.
is they can't get anything done because they have too many clients and they're spread too thin, so they can't get anything done.
But you know what? They're not consistent, because I know people that get computers and they had no work goals, and they just bought them a computer and JAWS, and then they didn't get trained on it. So it's like, why are they wasting resources? Especially if you're not going to train the person. To say, oh, here's a computer, and I don't know who that counselor was who got them that computer and JAWS. It's like crazy.
Yeah, well, like my brother's wife tried to get, you know, a computer and JAWS and everything. Or actually, she had a computer. She tried to get them to buy him JAWS. Well, they wouldn't get him JAWS because he didn't know how to type.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of software called Dragon, Naturally Speaking?
Dragon. Oh, yeah.
Yes, I have, actually. It's a program where you can actually use it for dictation via the Windows operating system or even via a Mac. Now they've come out with a free solution called Dictation Bridge, actually, that is able to interface with the Windows version for speech recognition, actually, and you can use this with JAWS, NVDA, System Access, and with WindowEye.
How much does it cost software like that?
For Dictation Bridge?
Correct.
Dictation Bridge is totally free.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, really? Where can I get that?
up.
If you do a search via whatever search engine you use, look up Dictation Bridge, you'll find the website there, and you can actually download the package for Dictation Bridge.
Cool.
So I can use everything on the computer by voice?
Yes, you can. You can compose emails, you can open files. Basically, it would be the same kind of concept as Dragon Naturally Speaking is actually doing.
But
they're actually doing it for free.
Yeah, because Dragon, obviously, you have to really practice a lot. Sometimes it doesn't recognize. I know I had one a couple of years ago. It cost about $99. It was on sale. So when I got it, it requires an awful lot of practice because it wasn't recognized my voice sometime. And in fact, that one doctor told me that he uses this. He said that when I'm using, I keep looking at the screen, and so if it's a mistake, so I corrected myself. And I said, what good is it, if you're going to be using it as a sighted person, talk and type, and at the meantime correct it yourself. He said, well, it's faster because I don't know how to type that good. So, but this bridge, did you say, that's better than dragging software, right?
From what I have actually seen, yes. They've actually said that one of the reasons why that they've created Dictation Bridge is because of the high cost of software such as Dragon Naturally Speaking actually being too high. Actually, again, that goes right back to the thing like we were talking about earlier here about the cost of screen readers. Again, this is something that really kind of boils me too sometimes. When a manufacturer comes out with a product and we as the base of blind users go and use the product, such as a piece of software, and we tell them, that it's not, we say, these are the things that are not working with my screen reader. Really, to be honest with you, the companies do need to make their software accessible to the blind and actually follow the standards for making software accessible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing, too, when Hunter Joyce owned, when Mr. Hunter or Joyce or whatever his name was.
Ted Hunter?
Yeah. When he owned, began and owned JAWS, that stands for Job Accessibility with Speech. He actually tried to produce a product when people called in and said, hey, I've got a job, I need this to happen with JAWS so that I can access it as quickly as the sighted people I work with. They worked to do that. Now that Freedom Scientific has had it for several years and now been taken over, they bought out their competition. It's not like that anymore.
That's correct. Here's the thing, though. Ted Hunter, though, was actually let go from the board of directors, from what I understand, back in 2000 when Hunter Joyce and Freedom Scientific merged. You see, back before JAWS for Windows came out, Ted Hunter actually created JAWS for DOS. And that worked all the way up until, say, 1995 when JAWS for Windows 1.0 came out, actually. And that worked, again, on your Windows 95, 98 computers. And they went on from there. I do agree with you, though, that the company has, VFO actually bought Freedom Scientific, Optelec, and A-Squared, which A-Squared bought GW Micro. So again, and see, that's another thing too. Now, the major screen readers are under one roof, all except that now WindowEye is no longer being made or supported. So right now,
a lot of WindowEye users are upset about that.
They really are. They really are up in arms about it because Window Eyes is stable, and they just don't understand the reasons for the whole thing going on. That's just like with the magnification side of things. Magic will eventually be going by the wayside, and the two products that will be under the VFO umbrella for accessibility will be JAWS and Zoom Text.
Well, originally, now Zoom Text, I never have been able to use Magic. Every time I've ever installed Magic on my computer, I mean, it drops to its knees and comes to a screeching halt. I don't know how they ever sold that product. Now that they have Zoom Text, or, have bought out AI Square, I'm afraid as far as magnification is concerned, the days of having a good workable magnification program are a thing of the past.
That is actually something to be concerned about because of that. See, that's the one thing with this company. Both me and my mother at the time, when A Squared merged with GW Micro, we both said that's not going to work. Plus, when GW Micro started offering the free Window Eyes for Office offer that Microsoft actually helped with, that was going to be a downfall for GW Micro. While it was good that they actually had the free Window Eyes for Office offer, if you needed, like, say, Eloquence, or you wanted any of the more advanced speech engines, you ended up paying for the licenses for them, plus you ended up having to pay for your tech support. Now, if I'm understanding correctly, once all this is all done and said, the Window Eyes for Office offer will go by the wayside. So people will not have access to that, but they are giving, or they did give, the ability for Window Eyes users to upgrade to migrate to JAWS for free. And that was until July 31st, which is today.
Oh. Yep. Hurry.
Otherwise you have to pay for it.
This is Alice, and I'm one of those people who migrated from Window Eyes to JAWS, and I did so the last week of May. And I did so very sadly because I had used Window Eyes since its inception. I'm originally from Indiana, and I even had started in 1989 with computer aids with Bill Grimm before Doug Joffrey and the other gentleman.
Dan Werich.
Bill Grimm's, and created GW Micro. I've been very loyal to that company, and I thought it was a great product, and I'm very sad to have to change. And I say that I really do not understand why this all has come about. I don't know if I'm one of those few who do not know that, but when Microsoft had the deal with GW Micro and Window Eyes, I thought that would save Window Eyes. But I was always concerned because Hadley School for the Blind, now Hadley Institute for the Blind, was only for a number of years working with JAWS. They never wanted to incorporate Window Eyes, although their tech support was always kind about helping me with Window Eyes. But it was really very much based on JAWS, and that made me worry because I thought, do they know something that I do not know? But I thought, well, as long as Microsoft is offering this deal with Window Eyes, surely it will last. And then all of a sudden it seemed like this just came about and Window Eyes is virtually no more, at least not being supported, as you said. Do you know why this came about? Because in my opinion, having used both now, I prefer Window Eyes, but already I'm forgetting some commands from Window Eyes because I'm learning all the JAWS commands.
Yeah, you'll learn.
It is one of those situations where I think we as a blindness community would be better off, even though I know we have SA Mobile and NBDA. I think we as a blindness community would have been better if there had been these competing forces.
Yeah.
Everything.
Alice, I have to agree with you on that one. The thing with this whole thing with the JAWS versus Window-Eyes thing, it goes way kind of one of those. It's really kind of one of those things hard to explain because they competed with each other for dominancy of the screen reader market. Because once, say, like Window-Eyes will come out with like a feature that did a lot more than what JAWS would do, then JAWS would go on over and they would actually steal the concept from GW Micro and they would rework it and actually put it into their product. So now, with Window-Eyes being under VFO's banner, they can now take and strip all the coding and everything, all the functionality from Window-Eyes that Window-Eyes would have given us as blind individuals, as a community. Like you were saying, Alice, Window-Eyes is a stable screen reader. I was sad to see it go myself because of that. And now what Freedom's going to do is take all the features and everything and try to put them into the JAWS for Windows screen reader, which I think is, again, downright idiotically stupid because, like you just said, it would have been better to have competition between the two than just to have just one major screen reader.
Well, like several years ago, I don't know when exactly this happened, but there's a thing that supposedly there's not supposed to be a monopoly. No company is supposed to have a monopoly over an area.
Yeah.
And I've heard
that's true.
Congress passed some kind of law. I don't remember what it was called, but they basically said, oh, well, this idea of monopoly doesn't really, mean anything anymore. And so now, you've got the big banks buying up all the little banks.
Yeah.
The technology companies buying up the little just exactly what we've seen here with they call VFS now or something like that.
Yeah, VFO.
And so what they've done is they've just gone out and bought up everybody that's competition, and now, we're stuck.
That's right.
And of course, Window-Eyes, I can appreciate that Window-Eyes would not release a product until it was stable. What y'all have been saying. You could count on it working. Whereas JAWS did not necessarily work so well, but what ruined my career as a tech, in systems and tech support and programming was that NT came out. Microsoft NT came out.
Oh, yeah.
Screen readers would work on NT, but by the time JAWS finally produced a version for NT, I was just, this was when the servers, desktop computers pretty much became servers, Well, at the time, JAWS could not read that. There wasn't a JAWS that would run on it. No screen reader would run on these servers. And so my career just went down the toilet right there.
Yeah.
There was no way that I could, stand side by side with my sighted colleagues and do the job. And now
that's understandable.
And now JAWS has gotten where, forget it. I mean, when Hinter, of course, they all told us, that Tom Hinter was going to be, there as a consultant. He was still going to be there. Don't worry. But, I didn't know what the history was, but as soon as it was possible, they got rid of him.
That's correct. And right now, from what I understand, he's actually doing gardening.
Wish he would start another.
To be honest with you, here's the thing. I think Microsoft should actually hire Ted Hinter to help Narrator become better.
Oh, that's another thing. One of the things that I heard, I don't know how true this is, but one of the things that took so long for any of the companies to write a screen reader for NT was because Microsoft would not share the coding necessary for the screen reader interface with the video driver. Yeah. So that they had to, do like Microsoft did with IBM and create their own video
their own video hooking solutions, their DCM, their display chaining manager to actually do that, to actually hook right into the video card itself, which meant back then, and this is something that Freedom had told people, Back then, you needed a specific, say, sound card. You needed a specific video card to work with the screen reader. And we were told, and this is something we were told ourselves, JAWS 4.5, 4.51 will not work on Windows XP. Guess what, folks? Back then, I was running JAWS 4.5, 4.51 on Windows XP, no problems. Freedom Scientific was so shocked that version of JAWS would actually work on that operating system.
You know, I bet they just kind of knew that. You know what I'm thinking? They wanted you to buy a new version.
Yeah.
More than likely. See, that's just it.
You know,
go ahead.
Ron.
This will be the final question. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to ask Ron, are you doing training, and what do you charge for it?
Okay, I do training, and this is where I am looking into setting up some stuff for that. But what I would charge for training for an hour's worth would either be $10 or $15. This way, the price is actually reasonable for people because, again, like I said earlier, we are on a fixed income, for the blind community.
Well, the thing of it is, can you afford to do that for yourself?
Can I afford to actually charge the 10 to 15?
Yeah.
I could do that because, one, I'm a blind individual myself that is on a fixed income, so I know what it's like to be on a fixed income and have to pay, up the wazoo for things. Like I said beforehand, we bought our JAWS. We bought JAWS and we bought Window Eyes straight out. We did not get Voc Rehab to actually pay for the stuff. This is one thing that I don't like about Voc Rehab sometimes. We went in, we talked to our Voc Rehab counselor here at the time. His name was Steve Kelsey. And we had suggested that we wanted to do a tech support business for the blind. And at the time, we weren't going to charge because we thought, just like everyone, we're all on fixed incomes. People, can't afford to pay like that for tech support. But Steve Kelsey had said that, again, we're sorry, we can't help you until you actually have your business up and going. Then we will buy you the equipment. Now, for Voc Rehab to say that when someone actually wanted to get something actually done to make money like that to me is wrong. So yes, I could do $10-15 an hour.
That's very good, though.
Remotely.
That's very reasonable. Excellent.
Yeah. Yep.
Ron, before we close, could you give out your ministry's website again? That we can.
I certainly can.
Oh.
All right. The ministry website is www.gshministry.org. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns from what you see on the website, you can contact us either via phone or via the contact information that is on the website.
What's your phone number, Ron?
For the ministry?
Yes.
That is 980-500-9575. The extensions for myself and for Chris are as follows. My extension is 402. Chris's extension is 403. Not 403, but 401, sorry. I'll have to get Ben's extension for you guys. Ben Bloomgren is a linguistics person. He can speak many languages, so if someone calls in that only speaks Spanish, speaks Swahili, German, of that nature, when there's a person that is like that, then he will handle like those calls because he can speak the language.
What about a number for your training?
Well, okay. You can call 605.
I'm sorry?
You can call this number, 605 226
Yeah.
0947.
0947. Thanks.
Yep.
That's 605-226-0947.
That is correct.
Okay.
Very good, Ron.
Sure.
What? What did you say?
Ron, it was a pleasure having you on the program.
Oh, I just
Yeah, it
wanted
was a
to
pleasure
ask
being
Ron
here,
one more
Bob.
thing.
Go ahead.
Ron?
Yes?
Bob, can I ask Ron another question?
You got about a half a minute. Go ahead, Joni.
Do you take credit cards?
At this time, I need to figure out how to do that, but eventually, yes, I will be doing that. I need to actually get the setup to do that, but I will be able to take credit cards, checks, like that, money orders, however you want to do it. So, there are different payment methods. I can even do PayPal, So it just depends on how you guys want to actually set up for payment.
Very good. Thank you,
Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Hey, you're very welcome.
Great. On Branco Broadcast, I'm Bob Branco. Take care, everybody.
Good night.